this message.
Assalamualaikum family. Welcome to another episode of Nationtown TV Live. Hit me up if you can hear me. We had audio issues prior, so if you can't hear me, let me know as soon as possible. We're not gonna be on long, maybe about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But I'm gonna go ahead and get started. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, who came in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad. I further bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger, and the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be right and exact. I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine leader, teacher, and guide, and Messiah in our midst, if we understand. And dear family, we're gonna combine these two topics. As you can see over here to my right, we have, of course, the FCN cover story. Get your copy. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has gifted the brothers in Los Angeles. If you're in Los Angeles, then the minister has gifted you a free copy, but you got to find the brother and get it. We all over the city right now, like bomber planes. But in any other city, make sure you find a FOI on your corner and get a copy of that. But we're going to combine that cover story with our secondary story, which is part 2 of proper handling of social media, since there have been some issues with Brother Nipsey and the way some of us are handling the situation online. And we're going to touch on that a little bit if we get the time. But I first want to just give my sincere condolences to not only Brother Nipsey's closest friends and family, those that really knew him before he was even Nipsey, when he was just, I believe his government name is Armias. But I want to give a shout out to them and my deepest condolences, but also to the other brother that I believe the brother's name was Steve. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the brother also succumbed and transitioned from that senseless, cowardly act that took place just this past Sunday on March 31st. So I'm gonna start off by giving our sincere condolences to him. I also have this beautiful young lady over here to my right, as always. And like I said, family, you know, as you can see, this is the mobile version of Nationtown TV Live. We've been ripping and running all over the city of Los Angeles for, you know, ever since this went down. It's been, you know, it's been extremely hectic, but it's also been very successful in getting the word out and helping our people cope with this terrible tragedy. We're gonna get right down to it, dear family. I've touched on, you know, this topic in written form on my page on Facebook a little bit, but I haven't gone too deep on it. I'm not gonna have a lot of time today, but I'm gonna touch on a few things. But first of all, just the impact that this had on me, because for me, Brother Nipsey is far more than just a rap artist. In fact, since I'm not as, you know, I don't listen to music as much as I did when I was a teenager, because I just don't have the time. He's more of an activist to me than an artist, because I don't, you know, I just gravitate toward you know, toward knowledge now, you know, just as a grown man. I just gravitate toward more, you know, people who have something to say, more than just how much dope they sold and how much money they have and how many women, you know, they done did this or that with. So, you know, that's just kind of my, you know, what I gravitate to. So for Nipsey, and I had the opportunity last year to run into him. Didn't share a whole lot of words, but he always shows love to the Nation of Islam. He loves Western Regional Student Minister Tony Muhammad. Many of you may have seen the video where T.I., another artist who I respect as a man, as a father, as a, you know, as a community leader who's doing a lot of the same things in the Atlanta area and in the South. But he had a budding friendship with our brother Nipsey, and Nipsey gave him a gift, a particular gift, and that gift was a copy of Message to the Black Man, you know, which was not surprising, but it was beautiful to hear. So, you know, our brother, he loved our people. He loved all people, but he particularly had a special place in his heart for his community, which comprised mostly of the black and the brown. And that's why if you look at any of the photos of the vigil, you know, you saw a great deal of our so-called brown family, so-called Hispanic family. They're really just indigenous. But he loved us, man. He really did. He loved his community. And the beautiful thing, in my humble opinion, about our brother Nipsey is that he banged. He banged, and I'm not just talking about rolling 60s, and I'm not just saying that he banged on anybody that came through the hood disrespecting, or he banged on Bloods, or banged on, you know, Hoovers or whoever. He banged on the worst elements that exist in this wilderness. He banged on ignorance. He banged on the government. He banged on, you know, miseducation. He banged on poverty. He banged on a lot of elements that some of the hardest so-called gangsters, so-called thugs in the industry as well as in the streets are scared to deal with. Because a lot of times you'll see someone who's quick, a brother who's quick to run up on somebody that looks like him. But when he's faced, you know, with a badge in his face, or he's faced with any, you know, powerful element outside of just this gang or that set or this set, you know, you see them cower. You see them genuflect. You know, you see them, as the police call it, assume the position. You know, I've seen some of the hardest brothers in neighborhoods all over this country. I've lived in 3 different regions of this country. I've lived in the deep south toward the east. I lived in the born and raised in the Midwest, and now I live in the West. And I've seen some of the hardest brothers, you know, who mean mug every other brother that come up and down the street, but the police pull up. Police don't even have to say nothing. They turn around and they bend over, put their hands on the car, and assume the position. And Brother Nipsey was somebody who banged on the real, you know, enemies of this world. And he banged on them in the most finessing way, man. He was such a brilliant brother. He is a brilliant brother. And I'm going to talk about that in a minute, why I'm trying my best to speak of him in the present tense and not in the past tense, even though his physical body is no longer with us. But with that said, dear brothers and sisters, I want to remind you, even though this is going to be a very abbreviated episode of Nation Town TV Live, I do want to encourage you. Any questions that you may have, go ahead and post it. Our executive producer, Sister Shauna Joy, is on the job. So if you have any questions, go ahead and hit us up with that, and we'll see if we can get to it. And like I said, we're going to combine our two topics here, the FCN cover story and also the secondary story, which is a continuation from a couple of weeks ago, dealing with the proper handling of social media. And that's part 2, and we're just gonna combine it with this Nipsey situation. But Sister Shauna Joy, do you have anything to say to the people regarding these topics?
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. Thank you for joining us. This has been a rough week, you know. It was funny because, well, not really funny, but it was, I don't want to say coincidental either. It was a timely message, I say, because this past Sunday, the morning before Nipsey passed, that later on that afternoon, student minister Tony Muhammad was teaching on how we're, as a black community, aiming at the wrong enemy. And right. He was teaching so hard on that, how we just have so little love for each other, and we've done each other wrong, you know, minor petty things, where this devil, this enemy of ours, our common enemy, has been killing us, robbing, murdering, raping us for hundreds of years. We're so harsh on each other. So, you know, when that happened, it just, that brought when I got word of his death, his shooting and then death, it just brought that to mind how timely that message was for us in this hour. But I'm not going to jump on any bandwagon. I did not really know much of Nipsey Hussle outside of the things that I would see on social media. But Allah God has a plan for everything. It all works in his favor. And they tried to bury us and they didn't know that we're seeds. And that brother is definitely a seed. Now, just coming to learn about him, I've learned so much. What an honorable, prolific activist in the community, entrepreneur. I can't even call him an entertainer because what he's been doing is greater than that. So it's beautiful to me because the type of love that God is trying to place in us for each other, that brother had it in him for us, for his community, and he exhibited that in the works that he did, in the truth that he spoke, in the life that he carried. And a person like me who didn't really know him when he was alive, now the impact, the ripple effect of this tragic event is far reaching worldwide. So many more people are going to recognize and know him, and those seeds that he planted are going to be so much more watered and beneficial. So, you got to look at the positive side of what happened, and that's that his legacy is going to ring out worldwide. And inshallah, be it the will of Allah, we will pick up his torch and continue his marathon. The victory lap is yet to come, and we're going to bring him to it with the works that we do in his name. So that's just a little bit of what I wanted to speak on our brother. And may Allah be pleased with his soul, and may Allah grant comfort and ease and understanding to his family, to his children, and to all of his loved ones in our community. Let's pick up and let's do even better.
Yes, ma'am. All praise due to Allah. I concur 100%. Before we get into combining the two topics, I'm going to just talk about when I first heard of the brother. It was about 6 or 7 years ago, and I had a friend who was a business partner, and he actually grew up, from a rival set of the Rolling 60s. He was a blood, and he couldn't stop talking about Nipsey Hussle. And for those of you that come from, areas with a strong gang culture, how they run. Like, I know brothers who won't listen to YG, because they crippin'. Brothers who won't listen to this artist or that artist because of their gang affiliation, or they'll play it down like, yeah, he all right. But this brother who I knew was reputable, he wasn't active like he used to. He was an older brother. He was over 40. But he was really about that life in his time. But he couldn't stop talking about this brother. So I knew it had to be something special about him. He told me about this one particular song that he did in one of his early mixtapes. And for those who are not familiar, like my wife, the brother has released about 12 mixtapes, several compilations, and Victory Lap was his actual first so-called mainstream album. But he also did something very creative with one of his most recent mixtapes. Mixtape, I believe, is called Crenshaw, where he only printed about 1,000 copies, but he sold each one, I think 10,000 copies, but he sold each one with a price tag of $100. It was 100% independent. I remember Jay-Z purchased about a dozen of them off top, posted it on Instagram, and I just thought that was that's when I really started to figure out, man, we dealing with a different brother. This brother is a little different, and he got the world figured out a little bit more than your average Joe, and especially more than what our average rapper portrays. One thing I'm realizing with a lot of these artists is that a lot of them are very intelligent. There's a thin line between intelligence and talent, so a lot of them are very intelligent, but they love that money, they love the fame, and they think, even with all the Pacs that we've had, the Nas's that we've had, the Outcasts that we've had, even in this day, the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Cole's, who are constantly topping the charts. I don't know where this myth comes from that if you say anything that's halfway intelligent, people ain't gonna rock with you no more. Actually, those are the artists that last the longest in the game, the ones who have more to bring to the table than just talking about, you know, how much dope they sold and how much money they have and all of that. These are the ones that stick around and stand the test of time. Now, in combining it with our second topic, the proper handling of social media, one thing that was a little disappointing with this, because of social media, you know, rumors and myths and things of that nature, they move at a you know, ridiculous speed now. You know, I remember when Pac passed away, when he was murdered, I should say, when he was murdered, about 6 months afterward, you started to hear the rumors, oh, Pac's still alive, he chilling in Cuba with Assata Shakur, you know, and all of this, and, you know, but if that would have happened during the internet age, all of those rumors would have popped up, you know, within 24 to 48 hours. So you saw that with Nipsey. You know, all this, you know, speculation about who did it and why and that whole kind of thing. You know, the emphasis on the Dr. Sebi documentary that he was doing and that he is doing and that will still go on. There's a rumor that Nick Cannon is supposed to take it up, but from what I understand, from what I heard from a brother with real information, none of his business ventures are off the table. He had a business venture that connected inner city youth with Silicon Valley, which is the, you know, basically the internet capital of the world from a business standpoint. You know, Vector 90, that's still going. Marathon is not going anywhere. They've obviously been closed since this happened, since the murder took place directly in front of it. But all of his business interests are still going. So that's another reason, that's one of the reasons why I'm going to do my best to continue speaking of our brother in the present tense, because he's someone who, you know, what made him special, and really what makes all of us special, it's not our flesh, it's not our skin. You know, I don't care how cute you think you are or whatever, it's not our flesh. What we really are, we're the sum total of our actions and our thoughts and what we produce. And that hasn't gone anywhere, and they couldn't kill that. In fact, you know, whoever was behind his murder, all they did was make about 1 million more Nipseys all over the world.
That's right.
You know, so with that said, the brother is very much still alive. So I'm going to try to keep talking about him in present tense. But you saw a lot of weak commentary on his death, and it was very weak and borderline, and actually not borderline, actually disrespectful. People who knew him personally, his actual blood relation and family, they really put it out there that they didn't appreciate people saying that he got killed over a documentary, you know, and putting so much emphasis on what happened and who he, you know, that kind of stuff. Unless you're in a position to do something about it, why worry about that, especially initially? You know, let's remember him and keep his vision alive. And, you know, I mean, we talk so bad about the police, but why so many of us turning to the police every time a crime happens? You know what I mean? You ain't a detective, or are you? Are you an agent? Are you an FBI agent? Then why are you so worried about that? You know, let them take care of it. The bottom line is our brother is physically no longer with us. And he left behind a fiance, heartbroken fiance, beautiful children, beautiful mother, strong father. His father, I just found out, was an activist in his own right back in the 70s in New York. He was fighting for the rights. He was fighting for, you know, the conditions of Eritrea. You know, kind of like you see these little white people talking about free Tibet and all of that today. Eritrea has been facing a lot of issues over the last 30, 40 years, and his father was on the forefront of that movement. So the apple don't fall too far from the tree. So, you know, it really hit it really hit different when members of his family and his closest friends started putting it out there that, hey, chill with all these rumors. Of course, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and his statement that's in that issue of the Final Call, make sure you get your copy. He said there's, of course, a hidden hand. Even if there's not a direct hidden hand, there's always the indirect hidden hand, because very few Aboriginal people, when I say Aboriginal, I'm talking about the black primarily, but also our so-called brown family, our indigenous family. Whenever we do something that's evil, that's outright evil, we're being other than ourselves. And that's the nicest way to put it. But we're living a kind of lifestyle that we learned in this world. And we were taught for a reason. We were taught with a purpose. This enemy had a purpose in teaching us to hate ourselves, to hate each other, to kill each other. It's not like we just flat out killers. Hell no. If we were flat out killers, then we would be going after our greatest enemies. If you're a killer, then you're going to kill whoever is making conditions of your life difficult. And who has made the conditions of the black man's life most difficult in the last 463 years? Okay, now how many of them have we killed? Now I'm not advocating us killing anyone. But if we were really killers, if we were really gangsters, that's the one thing I respect about Jews. Meyer Lansky was a Jew. A lot of the first gangsters were Jews. But they took that gangsterism that they put in organized crime, and then they took it to corporate America. They took it into law firms. So if you're really a gangster, be a gangster all the way. Be a gangster 24/7. Be a gangster in the corporate world. Be a gangster everywhere. Don't just be a gangster on your corner and your little, and that ain't even yours. Don't just be a gangster in your neighborhood. Be a gangster all the way. So we're not gangsters. We're not evil. We're not killers. We've been made that way. So even if there's not a direct hidden hand, which I doubt, because the brother was just too powerful. And his message was even more. His message, as my wife said, was a very seed-like message. He was making it cool to love your community. He was making it cool to love yourself. He was making it cool for a Crip and a Blood to be on the same track together and show unity. He was making it cool. He often used the term tribe when he talked about sets. You didn't hear him say sets a lot. He said tribe. And when you say tribe, that diminishes the beef and the negative feelings, and it just says, hey, this is the neighborhood I grew up in. These are where all my homies bang, so this is what we are. We're a tribe. So, that's something that I appreciated about the brother. But to all those who are putting forth commentary and whatever the case may be, just be careful with that. Be careful with that. And because it's so fresh, the brother hasn't even been buried yet. And his family is on social media. They on Instagram. His daughter may even have a Facebook account. She probably ain't been able to sleep for days. So if she perusing Facebook and then you telling her that her father is not here because a man made a documentary about somebody who gave us some opinions about how to eat and how to fight cancer, when there are millions of videos, thousands of videos, I should say, on YouTube already about Dr. Sebi. So that's weak for a brother that was so strong. That's a weak story for a brother that was so strong. It's much deeper than that. He was much deeper than that. But the bottom line is we can all be Nipsey in our own right if we understand. I believe we have a question or a comment. Let's see what our sister has to say.
Very quickly, to join this in again with the second topic, I do want to read the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's statement on the passing. He says, "We are gathering as much information as we can on the passing of our brother Nipsey Hussle, but the Nation of Islam mourns the loss of this great brother. His death, as well as his life, had so much meaning to it for us and for unborn generations. We thank Allah that his life came this way from God and touched our lives. I would advise the community not to react to rumors or false information to make us, in our time of grief or sadness, turn on each other. A bigger hand than the hand of the man who pulled the trigger is behind it all. More will I say in the future. To his family, to those who loved him and have been affected positively by him, we offer to all peace. The peace that we offer is the gift of God to those who submit their will to do his will. Best wishes to the family and to all the friends. You know, our minister is so wise, and he gave beautiful instructions on how to handle his passing. And like he said, we're gathering information. Just like my husband just said, everyone was not everyone, excuse me, let me not generalize, but some people were quick to generalize and place their own opinion and quick assumptions of what happened. I wanted to just say two more comments that I read online, which I feel is the proper use of social media in this time of grief, of what we should be spreading about our brother instead of unknown facts or assumptions. I have something I want to read very quickly. This is a comment. I will be clear. This is actually a gentleman. His name is Kevin Percy Williams. And a comment that he left, he said, "I'll be clear and honest about Nipsey Hussle. I didn't even really sit down and listen to his music like that. Never really dug into seeing who he really was. It was the image that I turned from. And out of my own ignorance, I missed out on some things. How he wasn't a perfect man, but he was the perfect messenger and living soul that had been delivering powerful messages, truth." So that was just a very beautiful message that we should be circulating about our brother throughout this time. Like my husband stated, there's children involved, and we want to make sure that we're doing our part that they have something to remember other than something tragic.
That's right. All praise is due to Allah. And before we close out, because it's coming to that time, dear brothers and sisters, we're going to definitely have to do a part 2 to this. We may do it earlier than Friday. It's my understanding that I'm not going to give an exact date, but I have been given a date, but it's not official yet, of when our brother will be buried and when his homegoing services will be. From what I hear, it's going to be later this week. And, inshallah, more than likely, the Nation of Islam will be, there, boots on the ground, as we have been throughout this whole situation. I'm sure some of you have seen the videos of us at ground zero of this tragic incident. And we've been getting nothing but love from our people, nothing but love, 100%. And I want to thank all of those that have been showing us that love and continue to show us that love. And no matter what city you're in, definitely support the brothers that you see out there, grinding with that Final Call newspaper that you see to my right, with our beautiful brother on the cover. Make sure you get that. Make sure you get a couple of them, 3-4 of them, man, and give them to your family. That's the #1 news not controlled by the Jews. I guarantee you that's going to give you the most direct insight into the issue. And remember, when our sister Aretha Franklin passed away, they had back-to-back issues of the Final Call with her face on the cover. They may do the same thing here because of the impact. I don't know. That's up to our brothers and sisters in Chicago and the Nation of Islam. But I look forward to this following week. But we definitely going to touch on this topic again. But we're going to close out with a challenge. On Nation Town TV, we like to issue out challenges to our viewers. So with this challenge, what we're going to do, to those of you who say you love Nipsey, first of all, if you love Nipsey, I want you to type in the comment section, "We love you, Nipsey." First of all, we love you, Nip. We love you, Nipsey. You know, I love Nip. Whatever you want to type, but show love to Nipsey and his family in our comments real quick. But if you're going to do that, I got something even better for you to do. This weekend and every weekend, but start small. You know, got to crawl before you walk. This weekend coming up, go to a neighborhood business in a Black or Hispanic neighborhood. If you live on the West Coast, those are one and the same. But go to a Black and Hispanic neighborhood, spend some money at a Black and Hispanic place, a Black and Hispanic business. So go spend your money in the way that Nipsey Hussle, because that's what Nipsey Hussle was about. He was about Black business in the neighborhood. He banged for his neighborhood, but he banged economically, educationally. You know, that's how he banged. So bang for him. He said, if something happened to me, ride for me. So that's how he ride. That's how he got down. He wasn't running around shooting at people, and people wasn't running around shooting at him until his last day on earth. So the way he got down was economically and by making strong business moves. You love your hood, and now I got to talk to the street soldiers out there, you know, who are banging. And I know from personal experience that the LA, the Los Angeles gangs are nationwide now, in reality worldwide. Because I've lost friends and family to this, and I didn't grow up nowhere near Los Angeles. But I'm here now, and I've had friends die over this and loved ones die over this. So to my street soldiers, if you love Nip, then show it by either supporting and supporting your neighborhood, supporting Black businesses. You know, clean up your neighborhood. If you can't buy up the block like Nipsey did, Nipsey couldn't always buy up the block. He worked his way up to that. But he started off in just having real substantial love for his community, and then he built from there. He increased from there. So take care of your neighborhood. Don't throw no trash down on the ground. Go spend some money with a Black business and keep doing it every weekend. Spend money with your people. Keep the Black dollar, the brown dollar in the community. That's what Nip was about. Nip wasn't just no artist, man. That's a cheap way to look at our brother. He was a activist, and he laid down a blueprint for us. So if you ain't following that blueprint, then you ain't showing love to Nipsey. So that's going to be the move between now and the part 2 of this. So we're going to check with y'all and see who followed up on that. And I want to see some receipts, man. I want to find out who spent money and where in your neighborhood. And we're going to put it on blast on Nation Town TV. And I think we have a question before we close out. But we're going to have to go ahead and close out because, you know, we got to keep it going with our Friday night self-improvement class, something that Nipsey was all about. Community development. Self-improvement is the basis of community development. But I want all the family that are watching, I'm serious about this, hit up a Black-owned business in the Black community in your city. Even if you done already left your Black community or brown community, go back and spend some money and do it in the name of Nipsey and keep it going. Don't stop. That's how we show love to Nipsey. We don't show love to Nipsey with a t-shirt. Stop showing love to our people that die with a t-shirt or with just a Facebook message or Instagram shout out. You know, that don't do nothing for what they stood for. Continue their lifestyle, and then that way we can continue and keep them alive. That way we can continue to talk about Brother Nipsey in the present tense. So with that said, assalamu alaikum, and I'm going to turn it over to my queen because she got something to say.
Hashtag Nipsey Hussle Economic Challenge. Post your receipts on Facebook, Instagram, all social media with that hashtag. Let's get this circulating. Let's keep the marathon moving. We're in the victory lap, people. This is our time. All right, let this be the catalyst to get us clean across that finish line. Post your receipts of supporting a Black, a brown business, circulating money within our community, just like our brother did so beautifully, laid down a blueprint for us with that hashtag Nipsey Hussle Economic Challenge. Let's do this, y'all.
Or you can just put Nipsey Challenge, you know, just to make it short for those of y'all who are spelling challenge. But here's what we're going to do. The first 2 that I see, The first two that I see, the first two receipts are proof that you went out this weekend and spent some money, and it got to be more than $10. That's the catch. It got to be more than $10. So that plate of wings you was gonna get from Bubba's Wing Shack, that ain't gonna do it unless you feeding the whole family at Leroy's Barbecue Rib Shack. Wherever you go, it's got to be more than $10. But the first two that I see, we gonna post it. As you can see, we have the ability, you know, to do some pretty cool stuff on Nation Town these days, you know. And if you happen to be in the Los Angeles area or nationwide, I give you a little cheat sheet. If you're really looking for something, a quick way to spend black money in a black neighborhood with black owned, man, mess with your brothers at nationtownstore.com. We got personal care products, soap, you know, lotion, toothpaste. We also have bean pies, and we're now shipping bean pies nationwide. Yeah, Nation Town is stepping up the game. So, you know, we got a lot of products. So go ahead and go to nationtownstore.com if you get a chance. But the first two receipts that I see, go to Nation Town, post them to the comment section. We'll see it. Or just post it to Nation Town, or go to my page and respond to any of my posts and post it on there. And if we see any pictures of someone posting those receipts, we will put it on blast and show love to that Nipsey challenge, man, because this is what Nipsey was about. He wasn't just about, talking ish. He was really about that life. He banged on this beast economically and psychologically, and even from an educational standpoint. He was a thorn in his enemy's side, and all we got to do is multiply that and keep living it. So with that said, we got to get out of here. Told you it was going to be short, but we will be back next week, and we're going to continue this topic. And more than likely, that'll be after his memorial service or his homegoing service, and we'll talk a little bit about that when it happens, inshallah. With that said, brothers and sisters, be safe. And like I said, spend money in your community, in the black and brown community. Assalamu alaikum.